Hi guys, I'm Zane from the Trans Baviaans. This is the Trans Talk podcast, episode number 2. I'm joined with Harold from Polar, and we're gonna go into episode 2. Firstly, we're in a shed, a big farm shed, the last farm before you go into the wilderness area, roughly about 100 k's into the race. And I think the farming community plays a big role in our race, and it's quite interesting to be in a shed. We've been outdoors all day, but now we're in a shed. Harold, your thoughts on preparation still? We're on the training consistency. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, Zane, I think first of all to point out it's 100 kilometers into the race at this point, a checkpoint that everyone appreciates. I think obviously refeeding at this point is important, but more importantly, you've done 100 kilometers, which we will obviously still discuss the route profile in more detail, looks relatively downhill for most of the part to get here, but I don't think it is. It definitely isn't from my perspective. There's a few bumps along the way, and if you overcook the first 100 kilometers, you are going to pay for it later. There's no doubt. So it's all, and again, so another topic we will be discussing in future episodes is the pacing and how you should approach the first 100 kilometers. But once we step back and we come back to the training side of things, one of the crucial parts of training in any training program is consistency, and more importantly, maybe not consistency so much, but more training frequency. And what I mean by that, really how often a week you train. And the general guidelines are you should do at least 5 to 6 sessions a week with at least 1 or 2 rest days. Personally, I'd recommend building up for a race like this, try and have 1 rest day. Choose that rest day wisely where you can truly rest. And then build up the rest of your training. We've looked at the hours per week that you should be doing via the training planner, and spread that load throughout the week. So that's one important part of it. And stay consistent. Consistency is king, as some of us have heard numerous times. And so keep your training as consistent as possible. If in doubt, rather come to a low intensity workout and keep it consistent than doing too many high-intensity workouts and then skipping workouts along the way. And obviously the other part that is crucial to any good structured training program or training plan is the long, slow distance workout. I mean, long, slow distance really just means it's a long duration workout at a relatively low intensity, but those workouts once a week are crucial for an event like this. And the general guideline is that workout should be at least 1/3 of your total weekly training time. So let's give you an example, maybe a 9-hour week you've got planned. Your long, slow distance session should be at least 3 hours. It can be more, it should not be less. So rest day important for one of the sessions in inverted commas that you plan, and obviously the other part is the long, slow distance workout. So that's the first approach to the training plan once you know the hours per week that you are trying to target. Then we'll obviously cover other details following the training plan in future episodes.
I just thought of it while you were talking, a long, slow distance ride. I remember the first time I rode, and the checkpoint was at Gilletbos, so we at Zandvlakte, which is checkpoint 2. I remember reaching the 100-kilometer point in the race and realizing this is the longest I've ever ridden my bicycle. And I think it's not about emulating your long, slow distance ride. Doesn't need to be a 230k ride. You don't want to do that.
Not at all. And again, that's something that you would decide based on your history and how long you've been riding a bike and doing endurance type sport. But anywhere from up to about 4 hours. So if you're targeting a peak week of 12 hours, for example, it should be 4 hours or more. 15-hour peak week can be on that peak week 5 hours or more. Generally, in most cases, you wouldn't want to do much more than 5 to 6 hours. Remember, you're also looking at the psychological component. Can you spend that amount of time in a saddle? But you don't need to go 10 hours, 12 hours. There's no real physiological benefit in doing really, really long sessions. If you want that true effect, you might want to look at back-to-back days of a longer nature. But generally, you'll be fine if you do one long, slow distance workout per week and build that up steadily through your plan.
Cool. Guys, and then I want to talk about, I alluded to it in a previous episode, and that was that the route's not marked. I think it's a really important element to understand of Trans Baviaans is that the route's not marked, and we won't mark it. It's actually, Harold, I think I've had this joke with you before, but it actually, in fact, costs us more to print these maps than to actually just go out and mark the route.
Yeah.
But this is the way the race was started back in 2004, and we've always gone with the way that the route's not marked and you have to follow a map. So a lot of our devices these days got navigation on it, and these watches that we're wearing, these Polar Grid X's, actually will run the full battery runtime of the 24-hour race in navigation mode, which is great. But also we give these printed maps, and it's a simple, easy map to use that you will get, and I call it a rally style map, and it actually just works. You flip through the map as you go. So you start with checkpoint 1, and it will just show you the distance and so on. The trick though is, I think you and I have been chatting about it in the car, is that this is one valley. There's only one road all the way through the Baviaanskloof. So that makes it quite unique, and you can't really go wrong. It only starts towards the end.
Till you leave the valley.
Till you leave the valley.
Then you can go wrong.
When you go out of the valley, you start going wrong. So the thing is, there's the most important turn-off points on this map is marked in red little blocks. And all you have to do, there's actually just 3 points on the route that you need to memorize on those distances, that's where it turns off and that you have to make those turns. Yeah. And then it's simple game, really.
Well, I think you say simple game, but understanding that most of the field and most of the riders will get to those crucial turn points in the dark.
Definitely.
And that's why it becomes a bit more tricky. Personally, years ago, I did miss one of the turns. Wasn't paying attention, was really tired, 190 kilometers into the event and missed the turn. So pay attention.
I wanted to ask you that.
Yeah. So pay attention. Look at the kilometer markings and pay attention on those turns, because in the dark they're a little trickier to see.
Yeah.
So it's always a good idea if you have a navigation device, obviously try and use that as far as possible, provided you obviously have the battery life to do it, or just have the map as a backup just in case.
Yeah, I think it's a simple thing. It doesn't take much space. Just put it in the back of your pocket and ride with it. It's a unique thing as well as part of the event to prep and plan for riding 230 Ks self-navigated. So although the checkpoints mostly are on the route and you shouldn't miss them, it's only, I know a lot of people still miss Bergplaats, which is checkpoint 4 in the race, where you need to turn off the route to get it. But the rest of the route is pretty, all the checkpoints are on the thing there, or on the route. And it's important to just be prepared. I think that's why we're doing this. It's all about preparing you guys for this event.
Yep, 100%.
Cool. I think that's it from episode 2.
Yep.
We at Zandvlakte, we're heading off down into the kloof next and going to Cramp Kick Hill. Is that the right term? We had that competition. What is that?
We had the competition and it was named, I think, the Cramp Kicker.
The Cramp Kicker.
Because it's a climb that if you've pushed too hard up to this point, it's a really steep climb, and you'll find out if you start cramping up on that, it's probably because you pushed too hard in the first 100 kilometers. So someone named that climb, I forget who it was, and I think it's a very appropriate name.
Yeah, so more about that hill, where it is. We're going to be shooting on top of that hill on the next episode. And yeah, see you guys soon. Cheers.
Cheers.